See ya. Here is our other turbocharger. It's a good one. Their ECU tunes, $3,500. I punched it at 70 and we broke traction. Jumping off of the dyno and hit it. Well, this is definitely the most expensive car we've had at the LegitStreetCars garage. This is a 2015 S65 AMG Coupe, and it had an original MSRP of about $250,000. So this car is fresh from the auction. It is another big money RennTech car. So in this video, we are going to find out what a car like this goes for 5 years later. Of course, we're gonna be lifting it up in the garage here, checking out what's really done to the car. I'm driving it, and we're gonna be putting this on the dyno to see how close RennTech gets to their claims of 700 horsepower and 900 pound-feet of torque. But first, I gotta give you guys a chance to win one of these, a 2020 G63 AMG. You like AMG, I like AMG, and Omaze is giving you the opportunity to win one of these 577 horsepower twin-turbo beasts plus $20,000 cash in the trunk. Well, these don't really have a trunk, but you know what I mean. Taxes and shipping are included as well, and all you have to do to enter for your chance to win is go to omaze.com/legit. The Mercedes G-Wagon has been around forever, but the new 2020 G63 AMG is part of the second generation, so even though it retains its classic styling, this is an entirely new truck featuring a totally redesigned and gorgeous interior with all the modern amenities you would expect in a top-of-the-line Mercedes-Benz. This truck also features a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 capable of launching this big 5,800-pound square box to 60 in, get this, 3.9 seconds. So the G63 is fast, it's comfortable, it can go off-road, and most importantly, it can be yours. The new G63 AMG is truly a modern marvel, so for your chance to win the truck plus 20 grand cash with taxes and shipping included, just go to omaze.com/legit, or you can click on my link in the video description box down below. Once you're there, you'll be given a chance to donate to Represent Justice, a group dedicated to improving criminal justice. Good luck. I hope you win this truck, and a big thanks to Omaze for sponsoring this video. So I can never pronounce the name of the person who hand built one of these AMG engines. They put a little plaque under the hood and they sign it, but in this case, I think I got this. It's Michael Kiblin or Kublin. Oh man, I probably butchered this as well. Let me know in the comments section, but either way, Michael, great job on this M279 twin-turbo V12 engine. So let's lift this car in the air, see if anything has been done to the exhaust system. Now, Mancuso Motor Sports in downtown Chicago, who owns this car, was able to verify it has a RennTech ECU tune. It has some high-flow air filters, a carbon fiber spoiler, but I want to double-check and see what's been done to the exhaust, if anything, and also see if we have anything done to the intercooler system as well. All right, so I just removed all 4 underbody panels from the S63. They're held in by about 35 screws roughly. Well, let's take a look at this car from underneath together for the first time, and right off the bat, we have a straight piped exhaust. So we are missing a couple of mufflers, one there and one there, and that explains why this car sounds even better than they do from the factory. So we're missing the mufflers. The exhaust looks to be stainless. The welds are really nice. It is supported nicely as well, and they are using the factory hanger locations there and there. So this is really, really nice. This might be like a prefabricated kit that someone sells. Some parts of the exhaust may be stock as well, but they have a flat section here to clear the cross member. We have an H pipe, and I believe the secondary cats would be somewhere around here. And yeah, Mercedes wouldn't have used the aluminized steel. I believe that's what this is here, and it has a couple of flex sections. These are the primary cats. They look to be factory. So let's take a look at the downpipes here. So that is one of them. That looks to be stock as well. Definitely some room for improvement. Here is our other turbocharger, and yeah, the factory downpipes. No leaks from the transmission, no leaks from the engine. Let's take a look at this intercooler system. So Here is the pump. RennTech sells a better pump for these cars, but this looks stock. Yeah, see the Mercedes star right there, so that's the stock pump. And then we have the heat exchanger in here that looks factory as well. So on the RennTech site, we have their ECU tune for the 222 S65. It's $3,500, 670 horse, 840 pound-feet of torque. This also has that carbon fiber deck lid for $1,680. Let's see, you can beef up the transmission. Look at this airbox for $5,000. It doesn't have that. It does have these air filters though. With the exhaust, maybe we're looking at just shy of 700 horse, maybe about 900 pound-feet of torque is what it should have. So let's go test it out at the dyno at Fluid MotorUnion. And yes, this car is straight up from the auction, so it hasn't been reconditioned yet at all, but Mancuso's will fix this up perfectly. This car is gonna look absolutely mint when they're done. Oh, jeez. All right, I'm getting on an on-ramp here, and I gotta start off by saying that the interior on this car is like nothing I've ever been in, okay? So just for a little context for you, my parents drove us around in a 1979 baby blue Ford Pinto and a 1972 Buick Skylark that was all rotted out, holes in the floor. You could see the drive shaft spinning from the back seat. It's kind of what got me into cars. And I'm not even that old, guys, okay? This was like the 90s. So I'm really able to appreciate all these new fancy cars, but this just takes it to a whole nother level. It's absolutely gorgeous in here. I just don't even know what to do. There's so many buttons, so many things to play with, and it is amazing to me that one day this interior will be outdated. We'll look at this as the old model, and that is pretty bizarre. Okay, so the S65 is just two-wheel drive, so we are very traction limited here. Oh, it's a rocket. It is so smooth and planted, it's weird. It doesn't even just slam you back, you just gradually just get sucked into the seat. There's no way, if there was $1,000 bill, if that existed, that I'd be able to grab it off of the dash. Oh, I've been in a bunch of these twin turbo V12 cars, but the newer M279, which was based off of the M275, the 6-liter twin turbo AMG V12, is just an absolute beast, especially once it's tuned with some exhaust modifications. And I know a lot of these V12 cars totally tank in value because pretty much everything around them is really, really hard to fix and expensive to fix. But they don't tank because of the engine. These are very stout engines. They're very, very strong. And aside from some really expensive coil packs on the earlier ones, which was fixed for this, they have individual dual coil packs now. They didn't really have much that went wrong with them. So Mercedes did a fantastic job with this engine, and it's basically been around since the early to mid 2000s. And I think it'll go down as one of the best engines that Mercedes or AMG has ever made, and potentially top 10 engines ever built. It makes a ton of power. It's smooth as glass. It sounds amazing, and it's just dead reliable. So the M279 engine puts out 621 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. Oh, how is this even possible? Oh my gosh, you gotta have these brakes. You gotta have massive brakes on this 5,000 pound monster. They work so well, but this thing gets up to speed so quickly. And on that run, I punched it at 70 and we broke traction, so ESP was going crazy, but it does an awesome job at keeping this thing just totally planted and smooth. So something else that's interesting is this car has somewhat of an old school transmission. It still has a torque converter, and we see this with these really ultra high performance model cars. We've seen this from Audi, we see this from Mercedes, and the RS7 that I drove. They just can't handle the power, the dual clutch, the wet clutch, the MCT transmission, whatever that manufacturer is using, can't handle the power of cars like this, especially the torque. So this is still using an older torque converter style transmission. I really like these. They're very, very smooth. And I believe at the time in 2015, this shifted just as fast as the MCT and some of the other lower AMG models. So at the time, the S63 got the MCT transmission, and this one does not have race start or launch control. Not that it would really do you any good with two-wheel drive. You'd have to have pretty much a drag radial or a full-blown slick back there to have any chance at all at traction. But I really like the transmission. It shifts perfectly. The downshifts are fantastic. And honestly, I wouldn't really trade it for a wet clutch MCT dual clutch type of transmission in this particular type of car. Now, something else that is amazing with the S65, this is something Mercedes came out with a few years ago, is Magic Body Control. Yes, it's called Magic Body Control. You guys know I've talked about ABC, Active Body Control, the hydraulic suspension system on these Mercedes. It's a really nice system. It's super expensive to fix, but this takes it to a whole nother level. So this has a camera that will detect the road surface ahead, and it will predict what the suspension is going to do. So it'll automatically adjust the suspension before you hit that kind of road, and it just offers a much smoother ride over the conventional hydraulic suspension. And being an AMG, you can of course play around with a bunch of settings and make this thing handle really nice. So this car weighs roughly 5,000 pounds, but you can really take some turns pretty quick, and it doesn't feel like that at all. This feels much more like a sports car when you have it in those settings, but just normally driving around in comfort mode, it is all luxury. But anyway, I just got a message from OJ at Fluid MotorUnion. He actually has had my E55 for about a month or so. He did some exhaust work on it. It has C63 mufflers, and he has that strapped down to the dyno right now. We're gonna make a few rips with that first. He wants to play around with the tune a little bit, so I can't wait to hear that car. I haven't heard it with the new exhaust, and then this is going on next. All right, fine, I'll punch it one more time. See ya. This is ridiculous. All right, so we ran into some problems right off the bat with the E55 on the dyno, and that is the auxiliary electric coolant pump went out. So this is for the rest feature where you can run the heat with the engine off, and it basically blew up. So this leaked coolant everywhere, and we already have a new one ready to go in from Bosch. We'll fix this up. We're having some belt slip issues, so far this isn't really going too well, but hopefully we'll be able to make some pulls on this car, retune it, and gain a bunch of horsepower, since in the last video didn't really do that well. I apologize for the E55 being so dirty. It is winter in Chicago and this thing sat out in the snow, but nevertheless, let's hear it with the new C63 mufflers. That is so much louder than before. God, these M113Ks with the C63 mufflers sound fantastic. I highly recommend that for kind of a budget exhaust mod. Let's do a bass file run right now, kind of get our bass line, and then start tuning. Okay, so that sounded really good, but take a look at the horsepower, 437. So we've actually lost a bunch of power and we've gone to a smaller pulley. This thing is just running so rich. OJ, what are we at air fuel? I mean, it looked bad.
By 3,500, we're in the 12s, and then it just dives down from there. It's like a high 10. We're gonna dial it back and see if we can, you know, try to bring the numbers up by leaning it out a little bit.
That sounded a lot healthier than the one before. Let's take a look. How are we looking here? No.
552.
Is that 552 or 522? No,
522, I'm sorry.
That's still awesome. Oh my gosh, 437 on the first run to 522.
Timing was played with a little bit. Actually, we're a little more conservative in some areas and a little more aggressive in others, but
yeah,
just kind of cleaning it up really seemed to make the big difference.
So it's running leaner. We messed around with the timing. Massive gains, guys. This is why it's very important once you get to this level where you have a bunch of modifications to get a real dyno tune. So the box tunes are great for pulleys, maybe some exhaust, just something kind of to get you going. But eventually, if you want to really tune one of these up, you got to hit the dyno with a good tuner. And a lot of the mail order guys will do live tunes as well, but it is awesome to come to Fluid and just kind of watch them work their magic. This is crazy. And we're gonna let her cool down a little bit more, see if we can gain any more power. And can we get the torque number too?
Yeah, we got basically, looks to be about 570.
Okay.
This thing was making so much torque that I kind of had to roll into it a little funky. If I load it up right away, it just wants to climb the rollers like way high. So I was a little more easing into it, and it reflects kind of in the come up here on the graph. So it looks a little wavy, but I'll try to dial that back for the next one.
Yeah, I mean the power is just instant. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive on these cars.
Any of you guys who have seen my previous E55 dyno videos, go back and watch those. This thing seems like 10 times more violent right now. I mean, it's definitely making the most power it's ever made, but just the way it comes on is ridiculous. So on that one, what do we got here? All right, so we made a little less.
We didn't let it cool down as long as I would like, but for the sake of time,
yeah,
we know we're over 500.
Right, so it did 515 on that run. And we didn't really make too many adjustments on that with the tune, right?
No.
Cool.
Just basically making sure where it was at, but I probably should have let it cool down a little longer.
And just to be fair, guys, OJ has been playing with the tune. We just didn't make 3 runs. He's made more runs with the car, but since this isn't a dedicated E55 dyno video, I'm not going to go through all of that, but he has basically been making little adjustments to the tune. Sometimes these tunes, if you want to get them right, they take, what, 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes, right? On the dyno, yeah.
Especially this car with how long you have to let it cool down between runs. So if you're letting it cool down 15 minutes between each peak run, yeah, it's going to take you all day. So
that's pretty much where we're at. I think it's time to get the S65 on the dyno so we don't run out of time. But super happy with this. I cannot wait to hit the track, the quarter-mile drag strip with this thing. I'm hoping we can hit bottom 11s with a roughly 4,300-pound luxury sedan. All right, so OJ has the S63 strapped to the dyno, and we do have it in dyno mode. Put your guesses in the comments section down below. RennTech claims 670 horsepower and 840 pound-feet of torque to the engine. I don't want to do the math right now, but this is roughly 20 to 25% drivetrain loss. This is a loaded dyno. It's not a dyno jet. I'm going to say 540 horse and 700 pound-feet of torque. Random Sam Crack, what do you think?
600 wheel and 650 torque.
Wow, all right, yeah. Quite different.
No, I think you're underestimating it a bit.
We'll see. I think it will beat the E55 horsepower-wise, though. Let me know in the comments section what you think. All right, so we've been having a little bit of an issue on the dyno. It's kind of a cool, good problem to have, but we are spinning these tires on the rollers, so this thing is putting out so much torque that we're basically kind of like doing a burnout on the rollers. So this happens when you have really high-powered cars. I've done this with my Turbo Trans Am as well. So OJ's going to mess around with the straps, kind of the general alignment of the dyno, and this is an all-wheel drive dyno, so these rollers can actually go further
apart or closer together, depending on how long the vehicle is. So hopefully we'll get a clean run after making a few dyno adjustments. You can see this thing in action. It's pretty cool. So it's pretty cool. He can fit basically any kind of car on this. All-wheel drive, front wheel, rear wheel. Guys, this thing is like jumping off of the dyno. It's completely insane. The way the torque comes in, it's like unmanageable basically, but we'll get it, but it's gonna take a little bit of fine tuning. All right, so that was our first clean pull that didn't rip off the dyno or smoke the tires. How do we do, guys?
519 on a hot run with like babying into it.
Wow. So nice. What about torque?
Well, it's off the charts. Looks like just about touching 700.
Wow, 700 pound-feet of torque. So 519 horsepower, 700 torque.
Get rid of these other runs. I think it's going to be higher than that just because we had so much trouble getting it to cleanly run. We had to really strap it down. And now that we got it set, we can let it cool off and get a proper run.
That's awesome. So I was dead on torque, I think. I think I said 700. I'm going to have to rewind the tape. Sam, what did you say?
650.
650. All right. Donnie, what were you thinking? Were you thinking 519 horsepower and 700 pound-feet of torque, right?
What did you say for torque?
I think I said 700. So we're waiting for the S65 to cool down, and who doesn't like some good carnage? So OJ has exactly that on an Audi. What do we got?
It's a good one.
Whoa. That's not right.
So yeah, this is with Audi's new Hot V 4-liter turbo engine. So what we're seeing and what's kind of coming up, the oil filter for the drain back tube on the turbo basically has a screen inside of there. But this screen is underneath the turbos, in the middle of the engine, not easily replaceable. So we're seeing them clog up, and that eventually causes the turbo to wipe out. And that's what we have here.
Is there a factory maintenance interval from Audi to do anything with this screen, or is anything with this ever?
No.
Wow.
It's not even suggested to replace it. Also, another fun one, the crankcase valve, which is very problematic on all German cars, but this one is in the intake manifold, which it's a Hot V engine, but this is underneath the turbos, and when this fails, you'll basically have a misfire that doesn't show up as a lean fault and really hard to diagnose.
So are you guys just taking care of this while it's all apart?
It came in, we found this issue, but it still had the turbo issue as well.
Right. So the screen OJ's talking about is under this plate. You can tell a ton of disassembly labor time roughly on something like this.
This is probably going to end up being 20 hours or more when we're all said and done. We're doing a few other things while we're in there, but it's pretty intense.
So it should be good for like at least another 15 to 18,000 miles after this.
Should be.
539.9, and torque probably off the charts again, I'm sure. What kind of RPM are we pulling, OJ?
6,000.
Oh, that's it?
So, yeah, it's not...
I know the V12s don't really rev that high, but...
As you can see, there's no point. And that's kind of indicative of these motors. If you look at like a lot of their passageways for the manifolds, just because of the tightness of them, they won't support higher RPM at high horsepower, high RPM. You really need to open the turbos up.
So when I eventually get my 65 car, we're gonna do all that,
right? You take care of that, and you can make it's like 100 horsepower just free and upflow.
Wow.
They're pretty restricted.
So how do we do on torque then for this one?
That run was just tickling 750, 730 and some change.
Wow, that is crazy. So 540 horsepower. 730-ish pound-feet of torque. This thing is an absolute beast. I would say that the claims of 670 and 840 are pretty spot on.
Like I said, I've had a Hellcat on this dyno, several Hellcats. They'll usually do about 500 rear wheel, 700. Drivetrain loss, the big wheels, all that. And our dyno reads low, so don't beat me up over that. But that's what they put down here. So we're roughly in the same area as a known 700 horsepower crank car.
So Mancuso Motor Sports owns this car. The owner's going to be driving it for a bit, and he doesn't actually want to sell this just yet. They have some reconditioning to do, as you guys probably saw, just some rock chips and whatnot in the front. Other than that, it's in really nice condition. I don't know exactly what they have into this at the auction, but they're going to be asking around $80,000. It has 46,000 miles, so about $250,000 5 years ago. It's dwindled all the way down to 80 with some mods. And yeah, I think this is the most amount of car you can get for about $80,000. I mean, look at the interior. Look at this. It's got a refrigerator in the back, and I believe that's removable as well. But if you guys live in the Chicagoland area, Fluid MotorUnion is offering my viewers 10% off anything above $300 for the next 30 days. So I'll leave all of their information down below. These guys are the best. They do custom modifications, normal repair work, tuning on practically any kind of car. All right, guys, we're done dynoing both cars. The E55 is cleaned up and looking pretty again. And we are going to be ending this video with a good old-fashioned Rev Battle. So before I let you guys go, if you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, share the video, subscribe if you're new, enter to win that G63 in the description box down below, and hit it. Guys, I'm obsessed with the interior on these new S Coupes. I'm at the Auto House on Edens in Northbrook, Illinois, and they have one on the showroom floor. This is a 4MATIC S560, and just take a look at this interior. Comment down below, is there an interior out there right now that is nicer than this?